Hi, I'm Gadget Girl, and this is my PoserPython tutorial. Well, what does that mean? It means that if you don't use the program Poser and you're just looking to learn about Python, this is not the tutorial for you, because the scripts we're going to be writing and running here really only work inside the Poser application. Certain parts of them are universal, but definitely not all of them. So who is this for? It is for people who use Poser. I'm just going to start a render and I'll explain why, and you can see I have one back there in a minute. Um, it is for people who use Poser and have wanted to use Python. There's things they thought, man, if I could automate this, this would be great. But they haven't known how, and the truth is the documentation we get from Smith Micro, there we are, it's not unreadable, but it's definitely not helpful. It's just a lot of lists of commands like this. It does give you kind of a brief introduction. Oh, where am I there? A brief introduction to Python, but not really. I'm pretty sure there's at least one of these samples where there are some, yep, there are some typos in there. So it's not a great guide, and it's, even if you know Python, it's kind of tricky to use. So this is definitely for people who have no coding experience. I am going to talk about a lot of basics of coding, not necessarily in the ways it's presented a lot of times, because what I want to focus on is how to solve problems. And that's why I'm rendering this image here, and you can see another version back there that I had rendered earlier, because the problem I'm starting out with, the one to solve, is a problem in Poser 11. It has to do with the Superfly renderer, which can do some really cool things, but it doesn't always work well with materials that were made for Firefly. And so we can see that here in Victoria's skin. She's gone sort of gray and zombie-like, and you probably can't tell what color the dress and the feathers are supposed to be at the moment, but they're the wrong color too. So this is an example of the kind of thing going into, and you know what, we've rendered enough of that, going into the material room, and if we go in and we look at some of, there we go, that's what she's supposed to look like. If we, look at what some of these, and I think I just actually chose, well, no, that's complicated enough, but you can see here there's a lot going on, and cleaning up not just this one, but every single one of these, and I believe her dress has a huge number of materials. Manually cleaning up every one of these materials would take a long time. Now, I did just mention Superfly, which is part of Poser 11. These scripts will actually work in other versions of Poser. They just won't really do, they won't necessarily make your render look better, although they still can be used because they're generic in a sense. We are going to add some specifics to make things easier, but let me give you an idea. Let me just run one of these back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cleaning this up. Actually, you know what, we're going to select all, and so you can see this is one of the things I can do here. Oh, and it pulled in a little bug that sometimes happens. We will work through that. There we go. So I just got rid of ambient occlusion, which you want in lots of Firefly renders. We don't so much want here. And I am going to fix V4. We are going to, she's just so obvious that I'm going to work on her for a moment while I talk, which may be difficult. But this is the idea, is that this is a script that I've written, and then I'm going to teach you how to write, including this nifty, so I've got another thing to do to Victoria here. We are going to do another relink, including this handy checkbox with the select all invert, how to make a fancier one like this. You've noticed I've used some really basic windows in other places, and I have totally forgotten what I was going to reconnect. So we're just going to cancel out of that, and I think it's going to give us an error. So what was I doing to you, Victoria? I have forgotten. I need to find. So this, by the way, these are all the errors that I got on that very first render. There she is, scatter and blin, and I bet we can even just get rid of blin, but I'm not going to do that for the moment. In any case, This is an example of something just to make life a lot easier because, especially if you've ever worked with the skins on a character like Victoria, we can go in and we can see on her now. If we select her and we go to the material room, well, that's the inner mouth isn't always. Let's go someplace a little more interesting. There's a lot going on here. And cleaning all of this up on your own is not easy. So, and you know, look at how many textures there are here to deal with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a series of scripts that will let us easily change nodes. And so, like I said, the way I'm focusing it is something that is going to be more useful if you're trying to clean up materials for Superfly, but they certainly could be used in other ways in other versions of Poser, because what I'm doing, and oh, look how much better she looks. Her eyes need some work, but I'm not doing everything right now. But these are just going to be some scripts to help you change a lot of materials on potentially a lot of figures. What you may or may not have noticed there was I have this Dragon Keeper set of clothing on her by Archie, as well as this Dragon Corona, I believe is the name of the hairstyle she's got going on. And both of those are going to have a lot of the similar issues. Some of them, like the hair doesn't look too bad, but it can be better. The dress, as I was saying before, is not coming through in the right color, and I haven't gone through and fixed that for this tutorial. But that's what we're going to go over. Now, I will say that my theory of coding is that one source is never going to teach you everything you want to know, and it's good to have different approaches. My approach is very much a problem-solving one. What I want to do is teach you how to solve specific problems in Poser and use code to do that. Now, I am going to go over basics for people who've never coded before, but it's not a bad idea to take a look at sites like Code Academy, has some great Python tutorials, and I will also say if you really start digging into this and I'm not dealing with the things in Poser you care about, there is a great PDF you can purchase from PhilCs. I will provide a link to that. It is just, it's a great PDF that really does a much better job of explaining how to use Python in Poser than the Smith Micro documentation does. It was, I believe, originally written for Poser 8, but most of it is exactly the same. It hasn't really changed, and it's a really good reference guide. So if you start digging in and finding there's a lot you don't know, that's another place to look as well. So, like I said, we're going to be actually writing these scripts. It's going to, and if it looks kind of intimidating, don't worry, we're going to start out slowly. In fact, what I just did to fix V4's skin textures and skin materials, that's going to take us a while to get there, because that's a little more complicated. But we are going to start creating scripts to work in Poser. And the other thing I want to say is if there is a specific thing you've always wanted a script for, I can't guarantee you that it's something I can build into a tutorial, but let me know, because I'm certainly looking for other things. Again, I want to kind of show people how to solve the problems that we have in Poser. So there's one more thing, and that's kind of what you'll need. So you're going to need a version of Poser. Like I said, this is kind of Poser 11 focused, but not really. The other thing you're going to need is a text editor. So this is part of the script that I was just running, and we're not going to run like this. The text editor I use is one called Sublime Text 2. Here's the important thing. If I open up my little notepad here, this is not going to work, and I'm on a Mac, but there's also, I believe, a notepad on the PC. These notes, they're not going to work. They're going to add all kinds of things that aren't going to be read correctly as text. You really want one of two things. Either a really basic text editor, let me make a new document, really basic, where it's not going to add any special encoding, so you can't use a full word processor like Microsoft Office. Or you want to get, like something that's written for coding, like, quit out of that, like Sublime Text 2. So if you notice all these colors and stuff in here, a lot of this it does for me. It knows these are Python scripts, and it does its best to help me by differentiating different kinds of information based on kind of a knowledge of how Python works. So there's a lot of these out there, and look around. This one happens to run on multiple platforms, which is also nice, and like I said, I like it. But you are going to need a text editor of some sort. And that is all you're going to need to get started. So I will see you. Oh, look, there she is. Much better. By the way, though, we'll just note her feathers didn't come out gray. So still some problems there. I'm actually going to revert this back in a bit. I've saved this so that we can keep working on her as we learn how to do the scripts to alter things. All right, I will see you next time.